There are places the wind avoids, places where even silence dares not linger. But sometimes, on the edge of Blackmoor Valley, you can still hear them. The bells of Bellwick, ringing for no one. Welcome, dear listener. I am Evelyn Blackmoor, and this is Whispers from the Hollow. Tonight, the journal offers us a descent into one of the Hollow's most enduring scars, Bellwick Asylum, a place where madness became ritual, where the chime of a bell was not a call for help, but a summoning. Join me. The journal is open. They called it Bellwick because of its tower, the tallest structure in Blackmoor Valley, built atop a rise known locally as Shepherd's Knoll. The land was deemed barren, fit only for the unwanted, the unwell, and the unseen. When it opened its doors in 1884, Bellwick Asylum promised mercy, a sanctuary for the mentally unwell. Its halls were orderly, its wards pristine. Doctors arrived from London with promises of the most modern treatments: hydrotherapy, isolation therapy, and experimental sound-based treatments meant to tune the mind into balance. At the head of this medical marvel was Dr. Algernon Firth, a brilliant man by outward appearance, tall, meticulously dressed, always accompanied by the polished silver tuning fork he kept in his coat. But behind his eyes hid something else. Firth believed madness was not simply a failure of the mind, but the result of external interference. He theorized that certain resonant frequencies could fracture the boundary between human perception and the unseen world, a world layered like thin sheets atop our own. At first, his experiments were subtle. Patients exposed to harmonic drones, tone generators placed beside their beds as they slept. Some improved, most did not. Then came the night rounds. At midnight, certain patients were awoken and escorted to the tower's resonance chamber. No one outside the medical staff was permitted to observe. The chamber had been constructed with unusual acoustics, domed stone walls, brass instruments lining the perimeter, and at its center, a circle of steel embedded directly into the floor. Inside, the patients were exposed to what Firth called the corrective chime, a set of frequencies tuned to the patient's supposed mental imbalance. What the staff began to notice, however, was something unaccounted for. The patients changed, sometimes violently. They became vacant, eyes wide, unblinking for hours. Several attempted to claw open the stone floor itself, murmuring of hidden doors and echoes beneath the bedrock. And then came the bells. The tower's bell was intended only for emergencies, a storm warning, or an escaped patient. Yet the bell rang on its own. One night, one chime. The next, two. By the 13th night, it rang 13 times, always at 3:03 a.m. No hand was found on the rope. No mechanism explained the ringing. Nurses began abandoning their posts. Some staff never returned after their shifts. Reports of strange shapes moving in the hallways surfaced. The patients' behaviors grew worse, many standing beneath the bell tower for hours, eyes upturned, as though waiting for something to descend. But Firth remained undeterred. In fact, he appeared invigorated. In secret, Firth had discovered an underground chamber beneath Bellwick, a natural cavern whose walls produced strange harmonics. Here he installed what he named the accumulator. It was not a device, but rather a ritual space centered on a circular brass plate inlaid with runes far older than the asylum itself. He believed this cavern amplified his experiments, opening resonance gates to forces outside human perception. Records from this period become fragmented. The few surviving staff journals speak of voices heard from vents in the floor, shadows moving against lightless walls, a low hum vibrating through the bedrock at night felt through their bones. The nurses called it the hollow tone. And then lightning struck. On November 3rd, 1891, a violent storm swept across Blackmere Valley. At precisely 3:03 a.m., lightning struck the bell tower directly. Witnesses from the nearby village reported a pillar of greenish-white flame spiraling into the clouds. By morning, the tower was gutted. Most of the asylum's residents had vanished entirely. They were never found, not alive nor dead. Dr. Firth was gone as well. Only the resonance chamber remained intact. Iron doors sealed it tight, almost as though something had locked it from the inside. Authorities never fully investigated. Bellwick was closed indefinitely. The journal's pages contain more than history. They offer maps. Weeks ago, I visited what remains of Bellwick. The bell tower is long gone, replaced by cracked stone platforms overgrown with ivy and moss. The air itself feels thinner there, charged somehow, as though every breath resonates inside your chest. The locals no longer approach Shepherd's Knoll. They speak of dreams filled with distant bells, of waking to find themselves standing at their doorsteps at 3:03 a.m., with no memory of how they got there. As I stood upon the stone remnants, I heard it, quiet but distinct, a low hum beneath my feet, and then a single chime. But the story does not end there. Decades later, Dorothea Hask, a researcher from the University of Arkham, arrived in Blackmere Valley. Fascinated by the asylum's collapse, she sought to uncover the truth Firth had hidden. Through her research, she uncovered forgotten local records, suggesting that Shepherd's Knoll was once a sacred site to pre-Christian cults, groups who worshipped an entity known only as the Breach, an intelligence that thrived on fractured minds, feeding on their unraveling. Her letters became more frantic as her research deepened. In her final correspondence, she wrote, "The bells are not relics, they are organic. Bone grown into shape by the will beneath. I can hear them inside the rock. I think they are still ringing because it is not yet full." Days later, she disappeared. Her tent was found near the old ruins. Inside, investigators discovered her tape recorder still running. The recording contained nearly 8 hours of a constant, low bell tone, followed by the faint whisper of her voice. I hear it breathing. What was Bellwick? An asylum? Or an altar? Dr. Firth sought answers in frequency, but frequency is simply vibration, and what is a mind if not a fragile, vibrating instrument? When resonance shifts too far, something else may begin to listen. The hollow whispers, and Bellwick still tolls. Even now, I hear its bells faintly between the turnings of the journal's pages. 13 chimes, always 13. Thank you for walking once more into the dark with me. What are your thoughts on Bellwick Asylum and Dr. Firth's experiments? Please leave them in the comments below. And if you find yourself near the ruins of Bellwick, listen. And should you hear the bells, do not answer them. Until next time, dear listener, the hollow whispers, and I am always listening.